Did you have any physical contact with Mary, such as kissing or any intimate relations with her before the school year ended at the end of your 6th grade year?
Yeah.
In my heart and in my mind, he wasn't an age. I think when we have close relationships with people, we value the relationship for completely outside of what someone's age is. I felt that I very much needed the relationship. I also felt that he needed the relationship.
Mary Kay Letourneau was born Mary Catherine Schmitz on January 30th, 1962 in Tustin, California, to John and Mary Schmitz. The fourth of 7 children, Mary Kay was the apple of her father's eye. Elected state senator of Orange County in 1964, John Schmitz was a leader of the new conservative wave, quickly establishing himself as a prominent figure in California politics. Over the next several years, John became a leading voice against sex education in schools and worked to limit youth access to condoms, while also making national headlines for his outspoken criticism of the civil rights movement and opposition to student protests at state universities. But while many admired his charisma and political rhetoric, critics argued that his achievements were more rooted in sensationalism than significant change. As he captivated the media with his one-liners and strong opinions, Schmitz framed his worldview in the language of universal moral law, believing that to be free and right and natural law does not mean we are free to break the 10 Commandments, to lie, to covet, to steal, to dishonor father and mother, to commit adultery.
Back in 1964, when I was first running for state senate, in my very first speech, I was introduced as the bravest man in the West, and I made the mistake of asking why I was being thus introduced. And the person introducing me said, well, he thought that with all those World War II reissue movies going on all night on TV, that it took a heck of a lot of guts to run for office with a German name and a mustache. This is my country. I was born here. My ancestors were born here. My ancestors were pioneers here. And no one's going to steal this country from me. And we are going to make this, and we believe that it may take a near miracle or a miracle itself to save this country. But we believe that we may rate that miracle because our party still believes in God and still believes in miracles. And we believe that, yes, we believe in the traditional values that built this country. And we believe in what our founding fathers set up, that they will have to have a limited government, and any government which stays within its limits will serve us well. It'll, like fire, it'll cook our food, it'll heat our home, but if it gets out of hand and gets out of the fireplace, it'll destroy the very meaning to the fireplace. I'll tell you this, our party believes that we may need a miracle to do this. And we believe that we've got to follow St. Augustine's words, that we're going to act as if everything depends upon ourselves and pray as if everything depends upon God. And we are unashamedly dependent and banking on God's help in this fight. And if you people don't believe in God, I'll tell you this.
Behind John Schmitz stood his wife, Mary, an influential partner in both his personal and political life. Mary was deeply engaged in her husband's career, taking on an active role in his campaigns and becoming a visible presence at rallies and political events. Described as a passionate advocate for conservative and religious causes, she frequently campaigned against the Equal Rights Amendment and was recognized for her ability to energize crowds. Mary balanced her public campaigning with a strong emphasis on traditional family values, instilling firm expectations in her children about their roles and responsibilities. But her dedication to her family and core values often placed her in a complex position between her personal devotion and political ambition. In essence, Mary was more than just a woman standing behind her husband, though she espoused the idea that that's where women belonged.
As an outspoken conservative, Mary Schmitz was almost as well known as her husband. In the 70s, she appeared on local television debates against attorney and radio talk show host Gloria Allred.
She was quite articulate, and I thought very bright, and extremely
right-wing. She was against incorporating into the law as a constitutional amendment equal rights for women. So I think that told me everything I needed to know about Mary, but she was also very much anti-choice.
And just so I can make this crystal clear, the young lady I'm traveling with here is the mother of our 7 children, my wife, Mary. She is also my leading advisor on the Women's Lib Amendment, and she has twice ordered me to vote against the Women's Lib Amendment because she refuses to be lowered to the status of equality.
In 1970, after serving 6 years in the state Senate, John Schmitz was elected as a Republican to the 91st Congress. He later won re-election to the 92nd Congress and, in 1972, sought the presidency as a candidate for the American Independent Party, a bid that ultimately proved unsuccessful. Upon the loss, the Schmitz family returned to California from Washington and settled in Corona del Mar, an affluent Orange County community. Outwardly, they embodied the appearance of a thriving political household. But on August 11, 1973, a family gathering at their new home ended in tragedy. During a backyard barbecue, 3-year-old Philip, the youngest of the Schmitz children, drowned in the family swimming pool. In his book, If Loving You Is Wrong, author Greg Olson writes, "It was the year after John Schmitz ran for president of the United States. He didn't win, of course. He hadn't expected to. He ran to keep the dream alive. Mary Kay, 11, and her baby brother Philip, along with their siblings and kids from the neighborhood, were in the water as the adults enjoyed cold drinks and the perfect vision of a California summer day. Just after 3:30 that afternoon, Mary Schmitz removed the plastic life preserver from her toddler son's slender body and sent him to the bathroom. She went inside to work in her office while Mary Kay and her brother Jerry played in the shallow end. A few minutes later, maybe a half hour later, no one could ever pinpoint how much time had passed. Someone noticed that the 3-year-old Philip was missing. It took only an instant to find him at the bottom of the swimming pool. Somehow, though Mary Kay and Jerry were in the same pool, neither had seen Philip slip into the water. Newport Beach firemen arrived moments later and tried to revive him with oxygen and heart massage, but the effort was futile. The doctors at the intensive care unit at Hoag Memorial couldn't save the baby. He was pronounced dead 18 hours later.
It was just one horrible, horrible family tragedy. The grief was enormous.
The family is devastated, but Mary Kay is assured that she's not to blame.
She's always said, I've never felt responsible for that drowning. I've never felt that was my fault. But if you're there and you're a part of it in some way, just a witness to it, I think it would mark you for the rest of your life. People make a big deal of that. Could this have caused some sort of a mental defect in Mary? She says no. But friends tell me that that incident did have a tremendous impact on Mary, on her life, and on her relationships with others in her family.
She adored her little brother, and I know that his death devastated her completely.
Mary Kay Letourneau downplays every traumatic incident in her life, and the drowning of her brother Philip is one of those.
The loss of Philip permeated the Schmitz family, affecting each member in distinct and lasting ways. Though the family maintained an outward image of model unity, the effects of Philip's death widened cracks that had been present all along. Behind closed doors of their elegant home at 10 Mission Bay, the difference between outward appearance and internal reality became more apparent. The main floor, decorated with marble, fine carpets, and meticulous furnishings, was prepared for guests and public life. Upstairs, however, the environment was starkly different. Mary Kay's bed had no frame. Her windows had no curtains. Drawers for clothing sat on the floor. And according to Mary Kay's childhood friend, Michelle Jarvis, the bathroom was thick with mold and mildew, often making it unusable. No family photos, no signs of childhood comfort, just the bare minimum. A visual reminder to the children that appearances mattered, but their personal needs did not. Michelle, who lived up the street, was Mary Kay's closest confidant and the keeper of her private heartbreaks. At a time when friendships did not come easily to Mary Kay, their bond was unique as the girls shared the trauma of having been sexually violated by a relative. But while Michelle openly confronted her past, Mary Kay struggled to accept hers. She confided in Michelle about the abuse, allegedly inflicted by one of her brothers, but often dismissed it as an exaggeration, labeling it as mere fondling. In an interview, Mary Kay later explained, "I don't feel I was violated, not my body. I was not forced into anything, but when I decided it was wrong, I said no. And guess what? It stopped." Mary Kay's tendency to downplay the abuse she endured reflected a deeper struggle to reconcile her experiences with her sense of self. These memories, in her mind, didn't warrant open acknowledgement. The emotional dynamics within the Schmitz household were rigidly defined. The boys, John, Joe, and Jerry, were groomed for public achievement, with John positioned as the golden son. The girls, Mary Kay, Terry, and Liz, were expected to remain in the background, their roles limited to homemaking and supporting their families' ambitions. Against this backdrop, Mary Kay's relationship with her mother was especially strained. Receiving little affection, Mary Kay longed for her mother's approval, striving for acceptance through obedience and conformity. This emotional void fostered a steady yearning, driving her to seek validation in unhealthy ways. Michelle noted the absence of warmth between mother and daughter. No hugs, no tender words, no displays of affection. Michelle explained, "She's never been accepted by her mother. Never. I never, ever, in all those years, saw her mother hug or kiss her or show her any type of affection in any way. Ever. I never heard her say, 'I love you.' Nothing."
Mary's mother, as opposed to her father, was a person whose rigidity never, ever bent. She was a person who had very distinct ideas about how all children should be, and a daughter in particular.
I met Mary Kay when she came to the television show with her parents, and I was really worried about her because I thought of Mary and John as rather rigid people. They certainly had their views of what a family was supposed to be and how people were supposed to act. And they seemed so, frankly, rigid that it worried me about what would happen to children when they had problems. Would they be able to talk to Mary and John?
Outwardly, the Schmitz family projected the image of wholesome success, but inside, Mary Kay learned to hide from her brother, from the truth of the abuse, and ultimately from her own loneliness. The family's polished exterior offered no sanctuary from the pain experienced upstairs, where heartbreak went unnamed and evidence of suffering was concealed. Even as Mary Kay insisted that she had not been violated, her childhood left her with unspoken lessons to endure, to remain silent, and above all, to protect the family's image. Attention and affection were not distributed equally among the Schmitz children. To survive meant to be loyal, invisible, and a model of a perfect Catholic girl.
Mary, what about you? What about your background and your upbringing? Tell me a bit about your family.
All right. So, my father was married once. Just saying. Where are we going?
Tell me a bit about your father.
I have a mother my father's passed away, and I have 6 siblings. 5 still living.
Was it a Catholic upbringing for you, Mary?
Yes.
And what did that involve? How kind of devout, how traditional was your family in that regard?
For me, it's just a beautiful heritage. That's how I do think of it. I just, personally, when I've traveled internationally, something about going into a Catholic church, it's just, they're all the same in the sacredness feeling. And it's just I know you're asking what was that like as if there's some uniqueness to being raised Catholic. But I guess I'm just taking present. How does it feel to have been raised Catholic? I just, I just think of it historically because it's not just that I was raised Catholic, it's both of my parents are from a Catholic family and back and back and back and back. So that's why I say a heritage. And so when I go into a Catholic church, doesn't matter where it is, it just feels really good. It's like this flooding of my heritage. And I won't say that I am entirely, if someone put a certain doctrine in front of me that was Catholic, said, what do you think of this? It doesn't mean a lot to me. I'm more, I shouldn't say it like that. I wouldn't say, because that's like rules, the doctrine of the Catholic Church, and I more am appreciative of the roots of the Catholic Church, which is really just the core of Christianity. People think there's a difference. Really? No,
and
there isn't.
that could be a whole separate lengthy discussion.
No, I'm just saying no, there isn't. I'm not sure what your question was, but I think that you think that I think you're asking about if there was a uniqueness.
Under the weight of Mary Kay's unique Catholic upbringing, her adolescence unfolded with the pressure of familial expectations and family secrets. Her parents, intent on protecting the family's image and values, sent their children to private schools. Mary Kay attended Cornelia Connolly, a Roman Catholic girls' academy, where discipline and reputation carried as much importance as academics. By high school, Mary Kay had become the girl to party with. She was cute, socially active, and seemed to fit the mold. But despite her bright exterior, Mary Kay was secretly searching for a validation she felt she never received at home. Recognizing this behavior as a symptom of unresolved trauma, Michelle explained, Mary Kay was looking for love in all the wrong places. She measured her worth by how many guys had wanted her. Promiscuity is a classic symptom of somebody who has been sexually abused. I know that she was physically hurt. One of her brothers abused her. She told me that when she was 9 or 10, she used to search for places in which she could hide when their parents were away. As much as she keeps denying it by saying that it doesn't matter, I know that it does.
Mary says that she had a wonderful upbringing, but the friends that knew her when she was growing up felt that, it was a lot darker than that. There was possible abuse within the family.
Meanwhile, in their high school years, Mary Kay and Michelle Jarvis became inseparable, and the girls seemed to break all the rules.
We would jump in her car and head to Mexico for the weekend, 15, 16 years old. And we'd just go across the border and go to Rosarito Beach and book ourselves a hotel room.
She was a girl that knew how to have fun, and she had no problem finding people to have fun with. She was a cheerleader. She was actually a nationally ranked caliber type cheerleader. She was not the best student.
When Mary Kay and I grew up, we had big dreams of what we were going to be. She was going to be married to an attorney or a politician and have a very glamorous life and, go to fundraisers and, live in a nice house and be able to go shopping, and the kids would be in private schools and a very utopian Newport Beach life.
After graduating high school, Mary Kay enrolled at Orange Coast College, a local community college where she intended to pursue a degree in the arts. But in 1982, her world came crashing down when a shocking family scandal became public. it would be revealed that her father, then senator, had fathered 2 children with another woman. For nearly a decade, John Schmitz had maintained a relationship with Carla Stuckle, a former student and campaign worker, whom he met while teaching political science at a local community college. The affair produced a son in 1981 and a daughter in 1982. In an interview with Olson, Carla's daughter detailed her mother's affair with the politician. Sometimes the phone would ring, and it would only ring once, and my mother would say, "Don't answer it. Don't ever answer the phone unless it rings more than once or twice." It was his code to let her know that he was thinking of her when he couldn't talk, like when he was at home. It worked, but I was really annoyed by it. My mother liked to be the center of attention. I think in her fantasy world, John was going to leave Mary for her, marry my mother, and she was going to be Mrs. Senator John Schmitz. He would tell my mother, "I can't see you anymore, Carla. We need to distance ourselves. That's where I belong, with my family. I'm not with my kids, I'm here with you. This is wrong." And she would manipulate him back into it. She blackmailed him. She taped their phone conversations. She had one of those suction cup things and a tape recorder. I saw her do it, and I listened to the tapes. Typical lovers talk. "I miss you. I wish I was with you." She admired him, respected him, and was drawn to his power. But I don't think my mother's capable of truly loving anyone. It is not in her nature. She's too selfish a person. John and Carla's secret affair unraveled dramatically in the summer of 1982, when Carla's infant son was rushed to the hospital with a life-threatening injury. After noticing a piece of hair dangerously tied around the baby's private area, Carla took him to the hospital, where he underwent emergency surgery to reattach his penis, which was nearly severed off. Medical staff noted that the hair wrapped around the baby's genitals seemed to have been placed there intentionally, which prompted them to contact Child Protective Services for further investigation. Given the severity and suspicious circumstances of the situation, CPS, along with law enforcement, refused to release the baby back to Carla until the father's identity was made known. After a tense round of questioning, Carla eventually revealed that the father was Senator John Schmitz, a revelation that would send shockwaves through her life and the community. What followed was a political and personal earthquake. Cameras and reporters gathered at the Schmitz home, headlines exposed every detail, and a national scandal erupted. Olson writes, "Here was this man, the ultra-conservative politician who told everyone to take responsibility for their families, and he had 2 children by some woman in a tract home in Tustin. It irritated Carla that John hadn't been man enough to acknowledge his children. Even after they were born, he refused to tell his wife that he had been unfaithful." John Schmitz had a lot of friends who stood by him during the Stuckle affair. Some figured that he wasn't getting what he needed from Mary, and it didn't surprise them that he went out looking for it elsewhere. What did raise a few eyebrows was his woman of choice. The media had a field day with the 2-timing politician. John Schmitz never commented on the affair, and his wife did little more than laugh it off as her husband's problem.
"This is the woman State Senator John Schmitz says is the mother of his 8th child, a 13-month-old boy. Does the baby have a name?"
Schmitz has been having a 9-year affair with a former student named Carla Stuckle, and he acknowledges fathering 2 children with her.
Here was this man leading the charge of good conservatism, and it turns out that he is absolutely living and has been living for years this terrific, tremendous lie.
He became the poster boy for hypocrites, and his family suffered terribly for it.
John always seemed to be a true believer. He always came across as a person not only stating his values and beliefs, but actually believing them and living them. And here, the emperor was exposed. He was wearing no clothes. He was exactly the opposite of everything that he appeared to stand for. It was a disgrace.
Mary Kay was 20 years old and attending a local college when she found out about her father's affair.
I think she and I were pretty much on the same page as far as how we felt about what her dad had done and why he'd done it, because obviously, he was getting something from Carla Stuckle that he was not getting from his wife.
Again, Mary downplays her father's affair, that it really didn't have any impact on her. But I know she was hurt, and I know she was troubled by the fact that he had lived, 8 years of secrecy, 9 years of secrecy that nobody in the family knew about, that he had 2 children, he had had this long-standing affair, and had lived a parallel life. Yet she was the closest one to him, and she didn't know.
I don't think Mary Kay blamed her mother, but I think she definitely put responsibility where it should have been.
As the scandal made headlines, it became clear that John had not only betrayed his family, but also compromised the very principles he had publicly championed. His political career, built on the image of a devoted Catholic family man, faced an abrupt end. Under intense media scrutiny, the Schmitzes put their house on the market and withdrew from the public eye. With the family's reputation in shambles, Mary Kay felt her world collapsing around her. In an effort to escape the chaos, she transferred to Arizona State University, determined to distance herself from the scandal and begin a new life. But at 20, Mary Kay was caught in a whirlwind of emotions. To numb her pain, she returned to her old party girl ways, letting reckless behavior and fleeting romances temporarily mask her sense of despair. It was during this unstable period that Mary Kay met Steve Letourneau, a charismatic frat boy from Alaska. Their connection was immediate, and for Mary Kay, Steve became a welcome distraction from everything she was running from. Months into the relationship, Mary Kay discovered she was pregnant. Fearing her parents' reaction and the stigma of an unplanned pregnancy, she kept the news a secret. But when a serious health scare sent her to the hospital, she had no choice but to come clean. Olson writes, Mary Kay had been in class when she started to bleed. The blood flow worsened and she was taken to the hospital. Okay, now I have to tell my mother, she told her roommate. I'm in the hospital and it's serious. What are we going to do? Mary Kay called her mother, who made it clear that no D&C would be performed on her daughter. It was possible, she said, that there could be another baby. And she was right. Mary Kay had lost a twin, but the other baby survived. There would be no D&C, but according to Mary Schmitz, there would be a wedding. Her daughter would marry Steve Letourneau, after all.
He came from out here in Washington State. He was raised out here, and his family's up in Alaska. He's a Northwestern, kind of guy. Certainly didn't run in the same circles as the Schmitz family, there's no question.
One summer, she brought Steve back with her to meet me. And we went to the beach that day, and he had a friend of his with him. And I don't know, I guess he and his friend had gone off in the water to go swimming, and I just turned around and looked at her and I went, what are you doing with him? I mean, this guy is a zero.
She made him over a little bit and tried to get him to look more what she thought a contemporary guy should look like.
He had all the right physical attributes, but the mental attributes were sorely missing.
Mary Kay had never intended to marry Steve Letourneau, as she didn't see a future with him. But given her parents' strong beliefs and the reality of her pregnancy, having a child out of wedlock was not an option. At 4 months pregnant, she walked down the aisle on June 30th, 1984, in a traditional Roman Catholic ceremony, feeling the weight of her family expectations and societal pressures. Upon their nuptials, the newlyweds dropped out of college and relocated to Anchorage, Alaska, where Steve worked as a baggage handler for Alaska Airlines. That fall, their first child was born. While Mary Kay loved being a mother, she was often overwhelmed by isolation, especially with Steve working long hours. Attempts to bond with her in-laws were met with resentment. They believed she had trapped Steve with an unplanned pregnancy, making her feel judged and alone. In 1985, after nearly a year in Alaska, the family relocated to Kent, Washington, following Steve's job transfer. Upon their move, Mary Kay enrolled at Seattle University to study education, a decision driven by her desire to become a teacher. To support his wife, Steve took on night and weekend shifts to help cover her education costs. However, as the family's sole provider, the weight of his modest income added financial strain. This, combined with an emotional disconnect between Mary Kay and Steve, created a growing gap that neither knew how to bridge. Their marriage became more of an arrangement, with affection becoming increasingly rare. Still, despite the emotional distance, the couple welcomed a second child in the summer of 1987. In the spring of 1989, Mary Kay graduated from Seattle University with a degree in education. In 1990, she began teaching second grade at Shorewood Elementary. Among her students was Vili, a bright, curious boy who stood out immediately. Born on June 26, 1983, Vili's early years were shaped by hardship and instability. With his father incarcerated for domestic violence, Vili witnessed firsthand the challenges of a fractured home, where love was often overshadowed by pain and uncertainty. He saw his mother work multiple jobs to support the family, frequently sacrificing her own well-being. Despite her efforts, their circumstances took a toll, leaving Vili acutely aware of the sadness and strain within the family dynamic. For Vili, school became a much-needed refuge, a place to momentarily escape the burdens of home. In the classroom, Mary Kay's bright and charismatic presence radiated warmth and positivity. Vili found comfort in the environment she created.
Give me a sense, Vili, if you could, of your upbringing, your childhood. You come from, fair to say, a very big family.
Yeah. My dad was married 5 times, and there's a total of 18 of us siblings. We didn't grow up all together. I grew up with my 4 full-blooded siblings. I eventually met the rest of them when growing up. I still have more to meet, but yeah.
That's a sort of a crazy upbringing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's there's a lot going on at Christmas or around the family dinner table.
It just stays simple. I mean, not everyone gets a Christmas gift, but yeah, just close relatives, you know.
Yeah.
The first time I was familiar with the name Vili, gosh, I don't know, 1989, 88, not sure.
Was that when you were here, his year 2 teacher?
He was one of my students back then. I hardly remember. Of course, I remember his name. So, and I knew the Fula'au family because I knew the other siblings.
Mm.
So, before, and then here came a unique one. So, well, they're all quite unique, as any family, I think, or all the siblings are unique.
This will be a test of your memory, Vili. I mean, you would have been 8 or so back then. Do you have any memory of those years?
I have not really good memories, but some of them are just random, just pretty much random stuff.
What sort of memories?
I remember hiding in the closet. There was a closet in the classroom, and then me and my friends, we used to be in there hiding in the classroom.
From Mary?
Why don't you say what you were doing hiding in the closet?
Just hiding in the classroom.
No, what did you tell me you were doing?
Oh, that's weird to talk about right now.
Which only makes me want to know about it even more. Go on, Mary. What was he doing in the closet?
No.
Oh,
It's
this
just
is
really-
what you said to me is we'd hide in the closet and we'd hope you'd walk past so we could look under your skirt. I'm like, what the heck? I mean, who's tells years later, is that what you told? It is what you told me. Mm-hmm.
Does that make you feel better?
No, I'm just saying.
Do I need to pause for mediation here?
No, I'm just saying it was what does he remember? That's what he told me he remembered. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, right.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah. There's also 2 or 3 girls in there that liked me, and I used to get these weird messages from them, little notes.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was weird. There you go.
I thought I was so aware. I had no idea there were closet. The closet spanned the whole side of so it's not like just for the visual. And there were these big, giant, like from bottom to top, the doors. All right.
In the spring of 1991, Mary Kay completed her first year of teaching, a rewarding milestone for the 28-year-old. At home, however, Mary Kay struggled with the demands of caring for 2 young children. With Steve working long hours, she shouldered the bulk of parenting alone, experiencing moments of chaos, tenderness, and deep-seated exhaustion. That summer, Mary Kay found support in her new neighbors, 13-year-old twins Amber and Angie, whom she hired as babysitters. The twins quickly became close to the family, especially Mary Kay, whose youthful energy made a strong impression. Mary Kay had a remarkable ability to listen and relate to the twins, making them feel seen and valued. Yet, as this friendship deepened, boundaries began to blur. What started as an innocent connection signaled the emergence of a more troubling dynamic, a blurring of lines between adult and child, raising complex questions about trust, boundaries, and moral responsibility. Amber recalled, "I thought she was really young. I thought she was young in how she looked and acted. She made us feel older when we talked to her. She respected us. She would go down to our level. She made me feel like an adult when I was 13 or 14. She asked for our opinions about the kids. She had us interact with the family so we felt superior, on her level." In September 1991, Mary Kay and Steve welcomed their 3rd child. Hoping to give their growing family a better life, they bought a home in Normandy Park, but the steep mortgage and private school costs quickly led to financial trouble. They struggled to keep up with the bills, eventually falling behind on payments and facing pre-foreclosure. When bankruptcy became unavoidable, Steve's family stepped in, providing the help they needed to keep their home. Amid these mounting pressures, Mary Kay and Steve's marriage continued to erode, even as they welcomed a 4th child in December 1994. Steve's work hours left Mary Kay largely alone with the children, increasing the emotional distance between them. Outwardly, they projected the image of a picture-perfect family, but the connection between them had faded, and Mary Kay turned her focus ever more toward her career for fulfillment. As the 1995-96 school year approached, Mary Kay was excited to teach 6th grade, a position she had requested. The change brought her into contact with both new students and familiar ones, including Vili, now 12, who was struggling after a fire had destroyed his family's home. With his father still incarcerated and his mother working long hours, Vili often found himself on his own, carrying adult responsibilities he was not prepared for. For Vili, Mary Kay's classroom represented a rare space of acceptance and freedom. In this environment, Vili found belonging and encouragement, even as he continued to grapple with the uncertainty and pressures of his life outside of school. A former colleague of Mary Kay's observed, "There was not a lot of structure. The students got to do a whole lot of things in a different way than they did in a more structured classroom. They were given a lot of different choices. Mary Kay let them do whatever they wanted. I think there was always that disorganization, that comfort level of being able to tolerate more volume than some teachers can. Personally, I think that's one of the reasons some children really adored being in her room."
What attracted you to teaching initially, Mary?
I just found myself. I was originally in the School of Music in college and always had the music background. And I found myself, music and dance. I found myself in teaching positions, whether it be coaching or choreography. And I just, once I got to college, and as much as I enjoyed it, And I believed that I knew I was good in the arts in that area. And I so enjoyed it. And I thought I might join what's called Kids of the Kingdom, which was part of Disneyland. They traveled and they did dance and singing, music. So I thought, oh yeah, that may be where I'll start, right? And so far as what would someone do with a background in music and that kind of interest. But when I got to college, I found that I was good.
Is this music or teaching are you talking about?
I'm talking about music.
Can I ask you
and
about
this is
teaching?
this is what happened. I found I was an A at teaching. Because even the professors at college, they was like, oh, will you take this group over here? They recognized, and even prior to that, prior to getting to college, I was coaching this and choreography. And I realized that, you know what? I'm a B in music and dance. I'm a B, good. That's good, nothing wrong with a B. But I was an A at teaching, and everybody recognized it, and I've soon recognized for myself that I was really an A.
What made you an A at teaching?
I think just being tuned in to a lot of good listening and being aware, and how about just really making clear what the objective is, and setting the goals, adjusting them along the way, as the learning or the gaps are showing, knowing how to adjust things and bringing in the resources. And it just was natural, very natural.
Can you remember back, Vili, to being a student? Was Mary a good teacher?
I remember all the kids really tuned into what she was saying. Yeah, I don't really know what to look for and what a good teacher, what a good bad teacher is. For me, a good teacher would keep my attention. And a bad teacher would be someone who talks, where it's like kind of monotone, where it's kind of like, just kind of fall asleep while the teacher's talking, which just happened a lot of times in middle schools.
Well, it's fair to say Mary had your attention.
Classroom 39, where Mary Kay taught 6th grade, was known for its constant buzz and creative chaos. Paint splattered the walls, art projects piled on desks, and paper scattered across the floor. Mary Kay saw the mess as a sign of life, a belief that real experiences mattered just as much as textbooks. Laughter and collaboration were essentials in her teaching style, and while colleagues often found fault with the uproar, describing it as a lack of classroom management, Mary Kay remained confident in her approach. In this setting, she set up a round table, a special corner for a trio of students she considered especially creative: Vili, his cousin Tony, and a girl named Katie. She made it her mission to foster their talents, often spending extra energy and attention on them. This focus on the trio created subtle tension in the class, as not every student received the same encouragement. As months passed, her dedication extended beyond the school day. Mary Kay began calling these students at home for long conversations, seeing it as an extension of her support. Although initially impressed by the extra attention, Katie's mother, Judy, began to question the intensity of Mary Kay's involvement, sensing something unusual, though she couldn't put her finger on it. In an interview with Olson, Judy reflected, "I knew she was a lot older, but she always struck me as the big sister Katie never had. She felt closer to her students than her own children, but God knows she spent more time with them. She was close with Katie and Tony, but she was especially close to Vili."
She knew him from 2nd grade. Not that she stalked him or groomed him or went after him for those 4 years or 3 years, but she never forgot him.
You'll never forget him, let's put it that way. He makes an impression on you that will last forever. He was a very good friend.
Katie Hogden was in Mary Kay's 6th grade class with Vili.
She really sheltered him because she knew that he needed to be sheltered, and that's what he needed at the time. He really did need to feel that And there was a couple other kids in our class that felt that way too. And I always just thought that they had a great friendship.
Mary Kay also formed a friendship with Katie.
Mary called her at night all the time, and inside it kind of bothered me at the time because I thought, she's got 4 little kids of her own at home. How can she be spending hours on the phone every night with my daughter? And to find out she was doing this with other kids too.
Judy did her best to suppress her concerns about Mary Kay, even as Katie grew closer to the 6th grade teacher. But what Judy didn't fully understand was the depth of Mary Kay's emotional reliance on Katie. As the year progressed, Mary Kay began sharing more about her troubled home life and marital struggles with Vili, Tony, and Katie, blurring the lines between teacher and student. Katie later described a day that stood out sharply in her memory, a day when Mary Kay entrusted them with news that her father had been diagnosed with cancer and that she herself had recently suffered a miscarriage. The heaviness in the room was palpable as Mary Kay's voice shook with grief. Katie instinctively reached out, wiping away her teacher's tears. What followed was a moment that forever shifted the dynamic between them. After disclosing her pain, Mary Kay asked the trio for hugs, seeking comfort from her students. Each, in turn, embraced her, feeling the weight of her sadness as they tried to offer solace. In that instant, an unspoken bond formed, a feeling among the trio that they alone could care for and protect Mary Kay. Eager to support her, they stepped into the role of her emotional guardians, unaware of how deeply this attachment was drawing them in. According to Mary Kay, it was around this time when Vili confessed his feelings for his teacher.
Well, there was an emotional attraction, and that was late in the year, toward the end, actually. And that was, we just had bonded. We have similar interests, and I knew that he had girl interests. And I did suspect, I knew definitely it was extending in my direction. And I just really ignored it. I just thought that was
things to you.
Well, one time he just came straight out and said, "Would you ever have an affair?"
This 13-year-old boy says to his teacher, "Would you ever have an affair?"
He wasn't even 13 yet.
Okay, this 12-year-old boy says to you, "Mrs. Letourneau, would you ever have an affair?"
I thought to myself, do not look him in the eyes, stay very busy, and it was very uncomfortable for me.
And then?
He knew that I was avoiding all of his comments and insinuations, and this time he was very assertive and wanted a response. When I looked him in the eyes, it really took me back.
Because you felt something.
I did, yeah. And basically he said that he was in love with me.
Mary, what did you say?
I said, "Can you hold that for a long, long time?"
As summer break of 1996 approached, Mary Kay was intent on keeping Vili, Tony, and Katie close, as she had come to recognize how essential these connections had become to her. Tony took on babysitting duties for Mary Kay's children, while Katie helped craft lesson plans for the next school year. But as the summer unfolded, it became increasingly clear that Mary Kay's focus had shifted dramatically toward Vili. Her growing attention was reserved almost entirely for the boy, who had come to occupy a central place in her life. Vili had become her protege, showing an extraordinary talent for art that deeply resonated with Mary Kay's own unfulfilled ambitions. She saw in him not just talent, but potential, a way out of hardship and a future shaped by creativity. Driven by this belief, Mary Kay poured herself into nurturing his abilities with singular dedication. This commitment was most evident when she enrolled both herself and Vili in art classes at Highline Community College, seeing these classes as a way to guide him toward a brighter future. But what began as a shared artistic pursuit soon raised concerns.
This is a tough question. What first attracted you to Mary? Can you remember?
She was pretty, and yeah, I think that was it. And then, I don't know. I kind of like that she drew a little bit. She taught some art stuff, and I thought that was kind of cool. And then I think like in 6th grade, we kind of connected on certain things. Kind of like saw common views on stuff, life, and
similar interests.
Yeah. So,
Mary, when did you first realize I have feelings for a student?
Probably, well, first of all, he wasn't my student when any feelings. So, which I think is really important. I was taking college classes for my continuing education, for my certification in teaching. You have to have it every 5 years. You got to update. So, or else they pull your certification. So, and same in a lot of industry professions. You have to do continuing education. I had classes. He was also in a class at the same college. So for summer. So yes, it was summer school, but it was a class in the summer.
Let me ask you, Vili, in a different way. At what point did this morph, I guess, from teacher and former student to boyfriend and girlfriend?
Just a friendship, really. And then during summertime, things just got a little closer, and there was some I don't even know how to say it, dramatic stuff going on, drama.
Really? What?
There was plenty of dramatic stuff going on.
I don't know. There was a lot of things that kind of just led to us kind of connecting on a deeper level, and
I think we spoke to each other as if in that summer we felt like it was boyfriend, girlfriend. And that's why, I guess that's what there wasn't a teacher, well, when you consider we were in the same college, we both took an art class at the same college. And I think it felt really great. I'm just saying it felt great because we were so close as friends. And then just to not be his teacher in any capacity, and to be friends, and to be working on the same projects in just on the same level. It just felt great. And just saying, I don't know what was dramatic going on, but I mean, inside of us, probably, yeah. When when we realized, I don't know, you called me your girlfriend. I
did.
Yeah, you did.
In June 1996, just before Vili's 13th birthday, the boundaries between Mary Kay and her student blurred beyond mentorship. By this point, Vili had frequently stayed overnight at the Letourneau home. His mother, Suna, who was working nights, believed the sleepovers were beneficial for him. One night, after an especially heated argument between Mary Kay and her husband, Steve, Vili left the house in distress. Mary Kay, concerned, went out to find him and eventually picked him up in the family van. Seeking space from household tensions, she drove them to a marina outside Seattle. Their arrival did not go unnoticed. A security guard, seeing the van driving slowly and running over a curb, suspected something was wrong and called the police. When officers arrived, They found the van parked and shone a light inside, startling Mary Kay, who was under a blanket beside Vili in the back seat. She quickly moved to the driver's seat and claimed her companion was 18, while Vili pretended to be asleep. When questioned further, Vili admitted he was 13. Mary Kay tried to explain, mentioning the fight with her husband, assuring officers that she was just watching over Vili, as she had many times before. The officers, however, were unsettled by the circumstances and called Suna, who, reassured by Mary Kay's account, saw no reason for alarm. The police decided against pursuing the issue further. They did not inform the school, nor file charges, later explaining that, at the time, there was not enough evidence of a crime. The incident was quietly resolved, and life continued on.
Mary and Vili tried to keep their relationship secret, but were caught together by police.
The Des Moines police were called by someone saying they thought there was a drunk driver in the parking lot down at the marina.
Lawyer David Gerke was a friend and neighbour of Mary, who would go on to represent her at trial.
And they got there, and Mary pops out of the van, and she's wearing a T-shirt.
Anything else?
They couldn't tell, but just whether it was a T-shirt and panties or a T-shirt, it drew their attention. And then there was a young child sleeping, Vili, so that raised some questions. And Mary, smart and quick, said, no, I'm his teacher. His mom knows he's with me. One of the officers, though, said, this doesn't look right. Doesn't smell right. There's something that needs to be investigated further. Maybe it's legit, maybe not.
Did they?
Nobody did.
Imagine it was the reverse. Imagine, say, a male in his mid-30s had been found with a teenage girl in the car.
Oh, yeah, no, you go right to jail.
And Mary was just allowed to drive off.
It was just the opposite. It's Mary. We know her. We love her. The mom said it's okay for the boy to be there, so obviously there's not a crime.
As Mary Kay navigated the sun-soaked summer of 1996, her relationship with Vili took a dramatic turn when she brought him along on a family vacation to visit her in-laws in Anchorage, Alaska. Upon their arrival, her in-laws quickly sensed the strange dynamic between teacher and student. Their glances and private exchanges sparked immediate concern, casting an unsettling shadow over their visit. Even Mary Kay's own children felt uncomfortable with Vili's presence during what should have been a family getaway. What was supposed to be a chance for family bonding became signs that the once innocent bond between Mary Kay and Vili had been compromised. Olson writes, when Mary Kay arrived in Alaska, she had Vili along for the ride. Sharon, Mary Kay's mother-in-law, who picked them up from the airport, recalled how strange it seemed that Mary Kay would bring the Samoan boy who she was teaching art to. In a tense phone call with her own mother, Sharon admitted her unease. Mother, she brought this kid, Vili, with her. What? Her mother replied. Yeah, she had him with her, Sharon reiterated. After their arrival, Mary Kay asked her father-in-law for the keys to his truck so she could, quote-unquote, show Vili the stars. Mary Kay and Vili would be gone for hours.
The incident was a late night that it didn't stop with a kiss. And I thought that it would, and it didn't.
Did you feel guilty?
I didn't feel any different than I had felt years earlier before I was married in a couple situations with a few guys where I thought, how did it get to this?
Did you feel disgusted with yourself?
Well, for one, I loved him very much. And I kind of thought, why can't it ever just be a kiss?
As the summer of 1996 ended, Mary Kay attempted to return to normalcy, resuming her role as a 6th grade teacher at Shorewood Elementary. Yet, with Vili, Tony, and Katie moving on to 7th grade at Cascade Middle School, Mary Kay felt a tremendous loss. Their absence left a void in classroom 39 that she struggled to fill. Determined to maintain the closeness she developed with the trio, Mary Kay began inviting them to stay after school. To some, these gatherings appeared to be nothing more than a dedicated teacher reconnecting with her former students. But for others, concern began to grow. Danielle Johnson, a mother of 2 former 6th grade students, grew increasingly uneasy about Mary Kay's after-school gatherings. Olson writes, Danielle Johnson sat at her kitchen table, trying to figure out what was happening with her 13-year-old twins, Drew and Molly. The children were heading to Shorewood nearly every day after class, staying late to help Mary Kay Letourneau. Danielle found this odd. The first time it occurred, she asked Drew for more information. He told her that a group of former students, including Vili and his cousin, were helping with class projects, grading papers, and decorating bulletin boards. I thought it was strange, weird, but how nice, Danielle recalled. I thought they were safe, going down there after school, helping a teacher and getting involved in education. What harm could it do? It could be nothing but good for them. Soon, Molly and her friend Nicole joined in. Danielle's concern only grew when the girls started arriving home late. But we're helping Mrs. Letourneau, Molly insisted. I don't care what you're doing down there with her, Danielle replied. One school night, around 10 p.m., after her children had gone to bed, Danielle heard a knock at the door. It was Mary Kay, agitated, and accompanied by a boy Danielle recognized. The teacher apologized, explaining, he was helping at the school. He got locked out of his house. His dad's not home. I can't wait around for him to come home. Is it okay if he stays here with you? Danielle was taken aback. What is he doing down there late at night anyway? My kids are already in bed. Why would you want these kids down there at this hour? Danielle pressed. Well, he was helping me with the bulletin board and then he just got locked out, Mary Kay explained. I've got to get home. I don't know what to do. Eventually, Danielle agreed, letting the boy in. About a month later, Danielle received a call from Mary Kay that further unsettled her. I'm concerned about Molly, the teacher said. Molly comes down to the school all the time, and she seems to think I'm her best friend. She tells me all kinds of things about school and life at the junior high, and I don't think she should be hanging around here so much. I don't even know her. What do you mean you don't know her? Danielle responded. She was in your class. I don't know her, Mary Kay insisted. She should have friends her own age. Danielle felt hurt for her daughter, who admired Mrs. Letourneau and often spoke of her with affection. All right, Danielle said quietly. I'll tell her to quit coming down there and bothering you.
She was regarded as one of the leaders of her school. She volunteered to be on lots of committees setting new curriculum. She organized a school yearbook that the students did for the 6th grade, kind of like the graduation before you move up to middle school. She was at district headquarters a lot, sitting in on meetings, kind of the extra stuff that not all teachers do, that she would volunteer her time.
As the school year progressed, Mary Kay poured herself into teaching, hoping to fill the emptiness left by her former students' absence. Outwardly, she appeared the picture of happiness. Her warm smile and laughter suggested a life of accomplishment and fulfillment, the kind most people admired. But in October 1996, that polished facade began to crack when Mary Kay confided to her childhood friend, Michelle Jarvis, that she had been having an affair. Olson writes, Mary Kay called Michelle to say she had fallen in love, truly for the first time. He was the person I had been searching for my entire life, she told her friend. She insisted she could no longer accept a life without real love and said she'd found her soulmate. There hadn't yet been any sex, she claimed, but they were considering it. He's so wonderful. We talk about everything. He's my soulmate, Mary Kay gushed. She avoided giving details about her lover, no mention of his job, social status, or even his age. She told me he was a student and she had a class with him over the summer, Michelle remembered. I was thinking he was a college student she had met through taking the class. So without coming right out and saying who he was, she led me to believe he was a college student. In my mind, I assumed he was about 20 or so, but she never really said an age. A few weeks later, a second call came from Mary Kay. "I'm pregnant," she announced, "and it's not Steve's." She revealed the father was the same student she'd fallen for that summer, and that she planned to divorce Steve and raise the child. "Does Steve know?" Michelle asked. "No," Mary Kay replied, explaining she had recently slept with Steve to buy some time. "Will Steve believe the baby is his?" Michelle wondered. Mary Kay was doubtful. "The baby will have black hair," she said.
Mary Kay's 4 children, all under 12 years old, become aware that there is something different about their mother's relationship with Vili.
They knew that Vili was around the house too much, and they knew something was going on, and some of them said, later that they saw, things in the house that indicated that Vili and their mother, that sex was going on and all this kind of thing.
And while her husband spends less time at home, Mary Kay becomes more enmeshed in her fantasy.
Was to keep herself tied to Vili as much as she could, and I have no doubt that sex played a large role in that.
She wanted to get pregnant. She wanted that lifetime bond.
And late that summer, Mary Kay does secure Vili's attachment to her. She is pregnant with the boy's child. Despite the explaining she will eventually have to do, she exults in her pregnancy and begins to plan a future with Vili.
She wasn't thinking rationally at that point, because she was thinking that, Steve will move away and Vili will move in and we'll all be together.
Although Mary Kay tried to keep the identity of her lover secret, it was soon exposed. Just weeks after confiding in Michelle, her husband Steve discovered her diary and love letters. The evidence revealed intimate details and the startling truth that her lover and the father of her unborn child was 13-year-old Vili Falau, her former student. Steve was devastated. He confided in his parents, explaining that the mother of his children was pregnant by a minor and asked his family to keep the matter private while he gathered more evidence. While Steve reeled, Mary Kay seemed unfazed, displaying an almost childlike excitement about her pregnancy, as if unaware of the turmoil around her. She even shared the news with her former students. Katie recalled Mary Kay's radiance and how Vili seemed every bit as thrilled. Olson writes, "One afternoon, 7th graders Vili and Katie met with their former teacher in her classroom as she showed them sonogram images. Mary Kay traced the baby's features, the head, the arms. She was glowing with happiness, but so was Vili," Katie recalled. Vili was just so happy, too, that she was going to have a baby that it was kind of awkward. "I knew them so well, but I didn't pay attention to the most obvious thing. I missed the big thing. It didn't occur to me then that Vili had anything to do with it." Katie had no idea about the true nature of Mary Kay and Vili's relationship, but she would soon find out.
Mary Kay's behavior has become too erratic for Steve to ignore. He searches through Mary Kay's things and finds love notes, poems, and journal entries. Shocked and angry, he confronts Vili.
I told him that Mrs. Letourneau was in great trouble. He was also. I wanted to know one thing. I said I had found journals. I know everything. And I want to know the truth right now.
Vili responded to him like a man who was being protective of his woman and seemed willing to sort of take a stand against this much larger, much older adversary.
Steve demands that Mary Kay and Vili stay away from each other, but they don't. Mary Kay believes she can justify the relationship because for her marriage is over. She's not in love with her husband.
I had separated emotionally from the marriage.
Quite a bit of time before I recognized my relationship with that particular student.
I was feeling betrayed, big time, betrayed. We had created this family together. We made commitments, thick or thin. I didn't believe at all that she would cross a certain line of no return.
Mary Kay wants a divorce, but Steve doesn't want his children to go through that trauma. He demands that they at least keep up the facade of their marriage.
He wanted her to have an abortion. Of course, she refused to do that.
I think that she had this belief that she wanted this child. She had this great love and connection with this boy, and that the ultimate proof of that love and connection would be to have a child.
Steve and Mary Kay are deadlocked, living together with Mary Kay pregnant by her student. Steve turns to his relatives for support.
By January 1997, the Letourneau household was in chaos. As Mary Kay's pregnancy became more visible, Steve's anger escalated, reportedly to the point of physical confrontations. Concerned for her friend, Michelle urged Mary Kay to leave, but Mary Kay dismissed the violence as mere stress, convinced it was only temporary. But reality intruded when Mary Kay and Steve missed a family engagement party, a rare absence that raised alarm among relatives, especially Steve's cousin Linda, who began to seek answers. Olson writes, "When Linda and her husband Kyle got home from the party, Linda urged Kyle to call his mother for news. As they both listened in, Kyle's mother insisted, 'You two have to swear that you will not tell anybody or do anything. You have to swear to me.' They promised secrecy. Mary Kay was having an affair," Kyle's mother revealed. "She's pregnant and is with a 12-year-old. Linda was shocked and angry that no one had contacted the police. "You don't go from being an outstanding teacher to having sex with a 12-year-old boy," she shouted. Linda then called Steve's sister, Stacy, and learned the family had known for months since Steve found the letters and confronted Vili. Steve's father wanted to notify police, but hesitated for the sake of the grandchildren. Unable to accept this, Linda told Stacy, "If your father doesn't turn Mary Kay in, I'm going to turn her in. I'll give your dad 1 week to do it." As it turned out, Linda couldn't wait 1 week and took matters into her own hands. On the morning of February 25, 1997, she called the Highline School District offices. A secretary answered. "I need to talk to somebody," Linda said. "The superintendent, I need to talk to someone high up. This is not a minor thing." When the secretary pressed for the urgency of the call, Linda explained, "A teacher has been having sex with one of her students."